And so when you look at the hustle reward ratio, design the life that you want to have. And then what you do is you start building certain building blocks over a period of time that will ensure with great probability you're going to land at your destination.
Welcome to the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast, the ultimate destination for accredited investors and entrepreneurs seeking alternative wealth building strategies. Discover how to fast track your journey to wealth and time freedom by thinking outside the box. If you're ready to join the ranks of the Contrarian Capitalists and learn the most effective ways to reach your financial goals faster, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast.
Thank you for joining another episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast. I am your host and your favorite silverback, Sylvania Harrod. And on today's episode, I'm going to teach you a formula that I use consistently to judge on whether I should do something or I should not. I refer to it as the hustle to reward ratio. So once you become a contrarian, you start seeing things outside the box, you open up Pandora's box of opportunities that are going to be there. And sometimes I come across people who are opportunists, which is not a bad skill to have. But at a certain point, there has to be a return on how many opportunities you're going to see. Because there's going to be opportunities everywhere. Let's look at it from like investing, right? Investing, there is hundreds of thousands of things I can invest in. There are stocks, there are bonds, there are treasury bills. There are companies, there is real estate, there is venture capital, there's all kinds of things you can park your money inside of, annuities, life insurance, etc. All of these are unlimited capabilities of what you can actually invest into. You can start your own business. But at the end of the day, I have one barometer that controls everything, which is time. The older you get, the faster time will move. That's just a fact of life. Because based upon math, 10 years when you're 40s is 25% of your life. But 10 years when you're 20, it's 50% of your life. So 10 years seems like it's a long time, whereas it's not. We just hit 2025. And the reality is that when I hear a song from 2002, I think it was like a couple years ago. So my kids go like, that song came out 23. Like, come on, I'm not even 23. How is that possible? Like it just seems that way. So if time's going to keep moving, and going through where we want it to be, well, we have to look at it and say, how can I maximize the time that I do have? Which is why I use the hustle to reward ratio. So every year I evaluate what are the most important things for me in this current phase of life. So those of you that follow along know that I have 4 children. My oldest is getting ready to go to college, and then my youngest is in 1st grade. So in this current phase of life, my oldest, who is transitioning out of the household and being able to do things and going into adulthood, is different than my 1st grader. We're in the midst of like elementary school, of this variance to be able to be there. So there's lots of activities. There's lots of projects and PTO meetings and sports and other activities that happen to be there. I also choose to be married to a person that I enjoy being around. So there's also time that needs to be spent there. So I take all those pebbles and I put those in first on my calendar. And then second from there, I look at the block of window of how much time I choose to work. Because the reality is that there's a gift and there's a curse once you unlock that opportunist mindset. The gift is you're going to see opportunities everywhere. The curse is you're going to see opportunities everywhere. So with that, you have to begin to narrow it down. And for those of you that listen, know I love sports. So like I use sports analogies. Typically, when a person goes to a different level, so you're going from maybe collegiate athletics to a professional sports league, there is a transition period. Some people hit it sooner. Other people, slow burn. They take a little bit more to be able to be there. But everybody says the same thing. The speed of the game moves up, and it takes time for your brain to adjust to the speed of the game. And so as that happens, they may rush certain movements. They may do certain things. Same things happen in the world of like being an opportunist. Things speed up. And then we get to a point where it's like, okay, we can narrow it down and slow it down. So I look at things and I say, okay, this is the block of windows of hours I'm going to be. Then I choose what I want to be about for the span of that year. So there's things like, no matter what I end up doing, I will always be teaching. Teaching was the gift that God gave me. It's taking very complex topics and making them simple and easy to consume. So I have to look at that and say, well, how much of that 30 hours per week do I want to be teaching? Which is typically, I say, okay, based upon that, 10% of my time teaching, because that is my gift to give back. I break it down because 80% of my time needs to be in the thing that's going to drive the greatest results that need to be there. That is 80-20 principle. Pareto, however you want to look at it. Like the 20% of things that are going to create 80% of the results, I'm going to spend 80% of my time there. Then I carve out the other windows for activities like, hey, what are the things I care about? I care about little boys and girls that look like me that have an opportunity to enter worlds that aren't going to be there. Spend a couple hours there. I love animals. Spend a little time there. I love veterans. Spend a little time there. And so all of that makes up the calendar of who I choose to be about, because here's the one thing that I do know. I hung out many of my years as an engineer. I have an engineering mindset. And so one of the things that we always looked at is start with the end in mind. So I think about legacy of what's going to happen in my 70s, 80s, 90s today. And so I can ensure that with great probability, I'm going to land at that destination. And it's something I can't even fathom right now because I believe in the law of consistency. The military gave me a gift of being disciplined, where it's like, hey, I'm disciplined in some areas of life, but you know what? Still fucking love some cookies. I'm going to crush some hoes, right? But I go through and I just know that like when it comes to the sport of business, I'm going to go ahead and can be consistent across the board. For the most part, it's pretty boring, like I'm fine with that. I love boring. This phase of life, that's what I care about. I don't need any other excitement things to be able to be there because I have life. My kids are excitement. Ask me in 15, 20 years, maybe a different part of the equation when all the kids are out the house and it's like, oh, cool. Like what activities do I want to be about then? But in this current phase of life, in the year 40, this is what I care about. And so when you look at the hustle reward ratio, design the life that you want to have. And then what you do is you start building certain building blocks over a period of time that will ensure with great probability you're going to land at your destination. So I was mentoring a gentleman the other day, and he was talking about like, you can do that because you're rich, but I'm not rich. I can't do that. I said, bro, I didn't start this today. That's not the way the math works. Like the math works, like money is the end of the equation. Always is, always will be. Money is based upon value transfer. The level of value you provide for someone determines the level of compensation you gain. But if we're going to dig into money mindset, which I'm going to save for another episode, right? But I'll give you a little glimpse of what that's going to be like. We dig into money mindset. Think about it as like a hose, right? Because money is an energy. It comes. It's like the ocean waves. No matter what, high tide's going to come in, low tide's going to go out. Like high tide's going to come in, low tide's going to come out. So if I look at a hose, right, it has two ends to it. If I take that hose and I put a kink in the hose, guess what happens? Water flow is going to stop. That kink in the hose is your beliefs. If you believe that money has to be hard in order to be earned, guess what's going to happen? That kink's going to be there. But if you have a belief that, hey, as long as I provide enough value, I'm going to receive the compensation I deserve, that hose begins to flow and water flow will come through. And so if you have a skill that is highly valued, the market will pay you what the market wants to pay you. So let me give you an example. People typically go ahead and they're like, why do professional athletes get paid so much? Well, let's look at the facts. In the NBA, there's 40 some people, actually there's like 400 some odd people that have the capabilities of being on an NBA roster. Average unit is 15 people. I'm going to start with 30 NBA teams just for simple math. 450 people around the globe that have the capabilities. There is 8 billion people on the planet and only 400 have the capability of playing in the NBA at any period of time. Well, okay, that's just simple math. Like very extremely rare. They have a very, very highly defined skill set. But you can have a highly defined skill set, but be in a market that you can't be able to get compensated for. NBA revenues are in billions and billions of dollars. The pool they have, because live sports is one of the last things that sustains television, because they know that there's 82 games a year where I can sell 17 to 20,000 tickets. So there's also 82 games a year, not including the playoffs, where I can sell advertisement slots to, because people are actually watching. So if you look at the NBA versus the WNBA, how many people do you know before Caitlin Clark have actually watched a WNBA game? I don't know very many. And I'm a big basketball fan. I don't know very many people that have season tickets that go to those. I know a ton of people that have season tickets on the NBA. Okay, so let's just look at that. Watching. People watching to be able to consume that content. So that is worth billions of dollars. When you're one of 450 people that are in a sport that is because I believe the rev share is 51% to NBA players. So if you just do simple math and you say, okay, the NBA is worth $1 billion a year. I'm just going to do it on the low end, right? You're worth $1 billion a year. And there's 51% is of that money that comes in, goes to the players. That's a pool of $510 million. If there's 450 people that has the element, well, the reality is, based upon that share, if you just did it simply, $1 million plus is going to that person because they solve $1 billion problem, right? So once you understand the formula, that the size of the problem you solve versus, let's say, a teacher. A teacher on average has about 20 students. And while it's very valuable, the information they're giving to the market, well, how much in taxes is going to be paid to that person? $60,000, $70,000 a year, like for different positions and different things to be able to be there. It's because they're not responsible for billions of dollars of revenue. So you can be highly skilled, but you have to be in the right market. You have those two, hit mountaintop. So reverse engineer that process, which is why I call it the hustle to reward ratio. Because you think a teacher that's highly skilled, do you think they have to hustle very hard? Hell yeah. They had to be highly skilled. Problem is, they're not in the right market. Now, if that teacher happened to go and say, well, I'm going to maximize my teaching capabilities by all of a sudden taking the process and the programming thing that I have, and they go out and they start training and equipping other teachers, well, it's a different market. So that market may create an opportunity. So you can make $1 million a year as a teacher, still be teaching, by creating enough leverage that's needed in the market to be able to solve those problems for people. So when I look at the hustle to reward ratio, and because I understand that, I look at it and say, okay, if I have finite amount of time and I have an abundance of opportunity, I then evaluate and say, well, we put in the most important pieces first. And then from there, I determine exactly what level of compensation I want to earn. I look at what skill I currently have, which is the ability to go and talk up to strangers and be able to teach and do those things. And then I look at and say, what market has the capabilities of supporting that level of income that I choose to be in? And then I just rinse and repeat. I determine my number of what I want to make. And then what I need for lifestyle to make sure the kids, family, and things don't have to worry, the proper investments are there. And then I just go out and execute. And so that is my gift I want to give back to you. You can do the exact same thing. Determine what skill do I possess, figure out how much time I want to spend doing things. And then from there, you begin to know what to say no to. Because the reality is there's an abundance of opportunities out there. You're always going to find things. There's always going to be things. Right now, there's a whole, I'll give you a real world. So right now, the current period of time of this recording, there are fires that are happening all throughout the city of Los Angeles. So there's fires that need to be there, which means once the fires are done, there's going to be these things called insurance adjusters. People from all over the country, they hear fire or water damage or anything like that. That means money to them. So what they're going to do is that where there's great tragedy, there's always opportunity because there's an abundance of it. They're going to go out there and there's going to be different adjusters that are going to make $500, $700, $1 million off of these issues that happen to be there. And they're going to go do that. So no matter what is going on in your life, there's always opportunity. The opportunity will always be there. But do I want to leave my family for 4 to 5 months to go out and be able to do that and be in those places and breathe in all those toxins and go through that process in something I desperately don't love? Fuck no. But I can understand, okay, there's opportunity. My thesis is correct. Okay, there's opportunity to be able to be there. What do I choose to do? Because we have this great thing called technology that affords me the opportunity to have conversations with people all over the world in the comfort of my house. That's where I look at it and say, okay, abundance of opportunity, there's abundance of things I can be able to deliver as far as results go. So I look at that and I share with you the same thing. There's always opportunity, but you get to get in the driver's seat and determine exactly how much time you want to work and what's the reward I'm going to get for how much time I work. You figure out that part of the equation, you figure out that number. And if anybody's struggling on that, you can always message me and ping me. I'm able to help you and get clarification on those questions. And then you're going to be able to go through and ensure that that's there. Because my desire for those out there is that I know not everybody can do this, but I believe that the contrarians that listen and follow and engage on here will be able to do it because they have the gumption to go after the lives of their desires. So to land a plane, 2 questions. How much money do you want to make? How much time do you want to spend doing it? And then get to work. You'll be able to go through there. As always, you guys can find me on all social media platforms at my first name, Sylvania, last name, Harrod. Any questions, comments, or things like that, I love answering them. So feel free to slide in the DMs. Tell me what episode, tell me what you're listening to, what questions you have, and I'm here to guide you through that process. Stay grateful, my friends. Cheers.